can have that one. So this is my new workshop. I've spent the past 2 months putting it together and I wanted to share it with someone. I'm pretty happy with it. To put it in context, we live just outside Manchester in a 3-bedroom semi. I don't have masses of space, so I thought, what can I build in my back garden to work in? And this is it. So stick with the video, hopefully you like it, and we'll go through from conception through to finishing the outside. Dude, very uncouth. I've had this house about 2 years. This is the state of the attached carport / garage, which I've done nothing with, and it's been pretty awful to work in. Now, I know what you're thinking, what kind of idiot can give up this amazing natural light and plant decoration? But clearing sawdust off my bike every day before going to work gets a little old, and it does get a little chilly and damp in the winter, so I need a proper home for my tools. And I think a 4 metre by 6 metre log cabin from Dunster house is a great solution for me, so I can clear out this mess. This is the state of my garden before starting. That shed is rotten, the door doesn't close, it's all subsided. So step 1, take it apart. Nothing that you can't take down with a jigsaw and a circular saw. Just need a little bit of patience, a little bit of perseverance. A little bit more patience. Okay, I'm out of patience, so. It's important when you're working on your own to not die. So some of the timbers that I've already taken out of the shed, I'm just attaching back to one of the walls so that I can take the roof down without the whole thing collapsing on me and killing me. And one on the other side. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Okay, careful there, careful. That looks dangerous, dude. Careful. Whoa! Close one. He almost died. Anyway, roof's all down, so I can just take most of the internal pieces out of this side wall. And then with all them out, get rid of the last support, wait for it. Yeah, that was pretty satisfying. Okay, you've seen enough of this, let's just speed on through. Now from this point on, my camera decided to corrupt all my MP4 footage. Sorry about that. So you got a bit of a Windows Vista slideshow. Underneath was this mess. Ugh. Some of the timber was untreated, some of it was treated. Whoever put that foundation for that shed down should be ashamed of themselves. But I got it away and then measured out 4.2 by 6.2, going corner to corner to make sure it was square, and Dingo kindly dug out that rectangle for my concrete base to go down. Thanks, bud. 2 tons of type 1 MOT aggregate later, I hide a whacker plate, which again I've lost my footage for, so you have to use your imagination to win something like this. Get it all flat by going and I was ready to make a form for my concrete slab. And this is why you hold on to all that wood. I ain't going buying wood for a new farm. This was all about between 90 and 100 mil. Look, that's not square. Oh well, close enough. That's why we gave ourselves some headroom. Filled it with some DPC, put some A142 6mm steel mesh in to reinforce it, and some 20mm conduit to potentially run my electrics. I don't know how I'm going to do them yet, but if you've ever wondered how you bend conduit without it collapsing, go get yourself a spring. They're like £3 from Screwfix. Drop it in, it'll stop the pipe collapsing while you can bend it round. Go on, dude, you can get it at 90. Go on, keep going, keep going, keep going. So the only thing that I paid someone else to do was to barrow in this from the concrete truck. It cost 480 for 3 metric ton. The slab cost £922 in total. And I just troweled over the edge, and at that point we're ready for delivery of our cabin, which goes something like this. Yeah, they just dumped it all on the drive in half an hour and went, which is fair enough, but it took me a good day to get all the kit round to the back garden. But step one was to get my bearers down, but before I do that I wanted to give them a bit of extra protection. To do that I had some leftover waterproofing membrane. I can't remember what I bought this for originally, but it's just a tub of a bitumen based waterproofing tar. Just get those bearers all covered, make sure they last a little bit longer, especially than that mess that was down holding up the shed. Probably tell it's getting a bit late, so once I got this finished it's time for bed. Following morning it's all dry, so for even more waterproof protection I've got a damp proof course. It's normally what you put in between brickwork when building a house, but you can just fold it and tack it onto the bearers for another layer of protection, just using an 18 gauge brad nailer and some galvanised brads. And then you can lay them down to sit in the cabin. More corrupted SD cards. Sorry, back to the Windows Vista slideshow. But you lay down your bearers for the main cabin in the rear, which is treated as an extension, but they don't put the instructions in the same orientation to confuse you even more. And then you just lay the main timbers on top of that, building each layer as a whole as you go up until you get to the windows. And then you can put your windows and door frames in, and then just carry on building up around them until you've dropped the purlins in. Now it's worth mentioning these hinges. They're a bit unique. I've not really seen anything like them before. They're just a pin with a bearing on the frame and a cup on the door. So to realign the doors you just screw them in or unscrew them depending on which way you want them to go. My door needed pulling in at the bottom, so just rotate it 360 on that bottom cup using a clamp, because clamps are your best friends, and hopefully that'll pull the door into square. And you can guess what's coming next. Roof boards. So it's 19mm tongue and groove roof boarding. I'll just grab a spare one and clamp it to the top purling so that I can keep my apex nice and in a straight line. Stick them on, screw them into the bottom, screw them in at the top, and just using a small 2mm spacer in the tongue and groove to to allow for a little bit of expansion and contraction of the wood. And you gotta go sit on your roof barefooted. I don't make the rules. So with it all done, the next stage was to add some insulation. So Dunster House themselves offer roof insulation. It's a 25mm insulation backed to a 10mm MFP. Thought I'd save myself a bit of money by trying to make my own, but I only saved about £200 for the floor and roof insulation over what it would have been from Dunster House. So it depends what you think your time is worth. My time is worth nothing. So I started off by getting some 25mm insulation and some 11mm OSB, and I thought I'll chemically bond it myself just like they do. But this did not work. It's just I'm trying it with mitre adhesive, or CA glue if you're across the pond, but it does not stick to that foil. You might have more luck if you are using unfoiled insulation, but yeah, this was a waste of time, but I did it so you're watching it. But then what worked a lot better was I just got some 3M exterior duct tape, or I forget what its proper name is, but you know the stuff. So I was in the centre aisles in Aldi and Lidl. So just wrap it around the edges. It doesn't need to hold it together. It just needs to keep it all aligned long enough for me to get it on the roof and in place. And then I'm going to screw the OSB to the roof boards through the insulation anyway. And you almost run out of tape just before the end. But never mind, get it all taped up with a heave nail, lift it onto the roof, get it lined up and screwed in. But then there's a bit of an overhang, so I made a cheap track saw out of some leftover 9mm plywood that I could just run along the edge. And clean it up like that. Now hold on to these cut-offs, because OSB is expensive and you can reuse them to just do the last little bit, and before you know it, we're all done. Insulation, OSB on top of the roof boards, and so many different colours of duct tape. Looks something like this. Now I've got to put some fascia board over that edge to cover it. These are the fascia that it came with, but keep in mind I didn't have the insulation option from Dunster House, so as far as I can tell they give you the same boards whether you do or don't. You just have to add a few little brackets on so that you're not trying to stick screws into the side of the insulation. Instead of the brackets, you can just put them on and attach them over the top of the OSB, and then it started chucking it down. And then the last little bit to add is just some reinforcing trim to the underside of the roof boards against the back of the fascia. And then remember, if you don't have friends, at least you got clamps. So by this point a lot of the smaller boards were really quite warped, so it took a lot of clamps to get this nice and tight and in place. And then to keep it in place I had to screw it in within an inch of its life. More screws, more screws. But with it all done, it was time to get on to the next big part of the build, which was the roof. So just lay out some damp proof membrane to sit under the shingle just for an extra layer of protection. Just staple it down with some 10mm staples, and just remember that if you're having to put multiple layers of damp proof membrane on your roof, that you do the lower sections of the roof first and the higher sections of the roof second. But with it all stapled down, we can get to work on the shingles. I spent a while doing this late into the previous evening, so just got to clean up some bird poo that had found its way there overnight. Watch out down below. And then get to work with more shingles. So just using some felt adhesive to create about 9 5-pence piece size droplets on the back of each previous shingle. Each shingle contains 3 visible tiles which sit over the top of the previous set, but are shifted along by half a tile width, so you'll end up putting down an offcut of half a tile every other row. So just check the reveals, make sure that you're nice and level, that it's not going to look wonky from the neighbour's top floor. And then just put some nails in the back. Now, I know these are not proper roofing clout nails, but to be honest, I'm so bad with a hammer that I've never had much luck with them. I promise I'll use clout nails for the very top row, the only visible set, but just make sure that these nails don't sit right in the middle of the tile, because then they'll be visible through the groove of the row above. See, I told you I wasn't very good with a hammer. And remember, that felt adhesive is just some extra grip. You can see the tiles come with a form of felt adhesive running up the middle, and that will activate in the sun and give them further grip over the coming weeks. But this is just a load of rinse and repeat busy work, so if you get bored of watching this, just skip forward to this timestamp where I just show you how I finish out the apex of the roof. We just roughly trim off the last one with a knife. I'll come back with my track saw similar to how I did with the installation board to clean this up before we do the final fascia on the end. And then we get to the last row, the apex. To do this one, I just double up and cover it from both sides. so that water can ingress back through one row and into the other. I was quite lucky that it lined up so perfectly. Now, to cover the final apex row, we're going to cut individual tiles out from the shingle sheets at about a 30-degree angle. It's easy enough to do with a roofing square, or well, rafting square, whatever you want to call them. Now, you might think you can only do a 45-degree angle, but have you ever wondered why it has a pivot point on one of these squares? Put the pivot, find the 30 up that hypotenuse, drop that onto the line, and now that back angle is roughly 30 degrees. So that's the line that we're going to trace with a knife. And then the same on the other side, just pivot it on that pivot until the 30 runs down, and then that line is now 30 degrees. Rotate the tiles 90 degrees to every shingle sheet that has been laid down so far. Just check the reveals, make sure that it's nice and even so that the neighbours don't think you've made a mess from their bedrooms. And I started at the other end of the cabin for no good reason. And because you're all annoyed, I've switched out to proper clout nails now with a wide head that I really struggle to hammer in, but check the reveals on all the sides, make sure it's nice and level, get those big old clout nails in. Lots of felt adhesive. There's no weight on this row holding it down from the wind, so even though there's still plenty of nails, just give it a good bit of adhesive. Then we get to the last one, a little bit finicky, just take a knife to it. I'm going to come back in with my track saw and clean the whole row up, or the whole eave rather, in one go before I put that final fascia on. For the time being, just a tiny strip to keep everything nice and neat, clean reveals, and we're good to go. So then the final thing to do on the roof is to add the fascia over the eaves. To do this, you just have to put a bit of 19 by 19 mil trim on the back of the fascia board so you can attach it to the top of the roof rather than the face of the roof boards. Now, yes, this is only soft wood spruce, but when it's so small, you probably still want to pre-drill. You don't want to split your wood at this point. That would make you cry. And then the final piece is just to join those two pieces of fascia together or cover them up. Okay, technically I've got to do the same over the other side as well, but you get the idea. So pre-drill, don't want to split it at this point, and attach him. And just like that, we are done. One nice finished roof. Hopefully won't have to come up here again anytime soon because I'm afraid of heights. Now we're fast forwarding a bit until after I've already done the floor, which will be in the next video, but to finish off the outside we've just got to cover up this unsightly gap at the bottom where you can see the bearers and the underfloor insulation. So I've got a spare floorboard. What do you know, it's the right width to fit the cabin, so I just take off the tongue. I don't bother taking the groove off because you're never going to see it. And then I just came over that newly flat edge with a chamfer bit so that I don't create an edge for rainwater to sit on. And then I've just got to take a jigsaw and cut out a few pieces to go round the end bearers which stick out a little bit more. stick them on with the old brad nailer. It's a little bit warped, so I had to fight it a little bit. A few bits of wood filler so that you can't see the heads. And I don't know why I didn't show you me treating the whole cabin, but I did. And I just need to finish off this last little bit. I'm just using Barratine's log cabin treatment, and it's difficult to see from this angle, but I have preserved the air gap underneath that cabin. This trim does not go to the bottom. And there we have it, the finished article. Now there's some bits here you haven't seen. You might be wondering why there's a projector screen there. That's just because my partner and I like to watch movies in the garden. So I think I'm going to cut this first video there. We're getting a bit over long. I've not got anything in my pockets. Obviously, as of now, I'm a bit further ahead than what you've seen so far, so feel free to follow me on Instagram. Keep up with this, hopefully part 2, deal with the inside, before the electric insulation. Before one might do by the time you see this. Okay, we're done.